if I take this shape here, the sort of, I would call it lamp shade or lamp sort of image of it. The reason for that is because if I'm going to go to the side, and you remember I talked about the dog in the other stage with sort of this shape, you know, with the wire structure, the tail and the head. Well, that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the cat sitting down. So what I'm going to do is say, like, well, what if this actually folded down and sat down? If I take just the opposite and I go like this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the chest here like this, just sort of create a boxy shape. Some people actually in some drawing books I've seen where they actually use literally a box shape to start to, you know, to form where the chest area would be. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that the cat's sitting here like this. I'm going to imagine that it's the chest going down to the belly here, that the butt will be resting down here, that the knee will sort of come up here like this and then be folding back. And maybe the other knee off of the hip is sort of resting off to the side here like this and coming out. Now, the scapula that we talked about in the dog, imagine this is sort of going straight down because it's got to support the character. So here's the heel, here's the other side over here. Maybe it's coming down together more like this. And then we come up to the neck and the head like this. Now, this is sort of where you start to create that shape, which gets into the bell shape, because everything sort of blossoms out at the bottom. And in fact, I might want to do here is actually start to sort of narrow this down a bit, pull it in here a little bit, so that I can actually get this to come in like this. And what this allows me to do, as I start to, like I said in the other, talking about the dog, I can rub this down a little bit. I can sort of puff out the bottom here, start to give these big puffy legs, big knee area here with the little feet. Maybe the other one is so puffy that it kind of sticks out over here. Maybe the fur, as you notice on cats, sometimes the legs are skinnier at the bottom and they have a tendency to get much more puffier at the top like this. I want to get this very maybe puffy in this area here. Get the little feet coming out here at the bottom. The ones at the front here like this. I'm going to take the head. I'm actually going to sit there and actually say, well, let's start with the graphics of this big ears. Let's create this sort of tiny little nose in proportion. Let's get these whiskers out like this. Let's pull these in so that we can sort of create this interesting sort of effect here. I'm going to try to just kind of keep the eyes closed for the moment because I want to create sort of this very interesting sort of look here like this. Give her a little, maybe give this girl, maybe she's a female, feline female. Give her a little bit of eyelashes here like this and maybe give her a little sort of a studded collar. Come in here like this. A little sort of a puffy shape here in the chest. And this beautiful, big, luscious tail to help sort of give it that fluid. Maybe there's a little bit of a color separation here or something where it's white tipped or something like that. Now you can start to see that I'm using the same principles that we talked about in terms of understanding, but yet I'm thinking more in terms of the fluid shapes because fundamentally cats have a more fluid natural flow. They will have a tendency to sort of flow from one thing to another very rapidly. Things have a tendency to be more curvy, as you can see when I'm drawing here with just these simple shapes. And you can kind of see how this fluid shape here could easily be translated into something as dynamic as that. Of course, obviously in the shape of if I got into more of the lamp shape, I would be dealing with this, if you can see this, hopefully you can. I would sit there and put the, almost cartoon-like, put the feet in the middle like this. And again, we are dealing with cartoons, so I mean, I'm going to push sometimes here. I might actually take the legs and do this. This is strictly a funny front view. And then have the little feet come out like this. And then go up to the head. This is sort of a fun way to take the shapes and sort of push them beyond a point of what's absolutely physically anatomical, but then push them to a point where it's actually kind of funny. And this is where you take what you've studied from the anatomical point and move it to the next stage. Obviously, at this point here, also I'd want to get in here on this case of this little girl. I want to get in there and I'd start to pull out a little bit more so I can get the drawing to work better for me. And again, I'm trying to avoid sort of doing typical characters that you might have seen on a film, but sort of generic cartoon characters, because I want you to be able to express yourselves and find your own design sense and be able to create your own characters. So I'm trying to keep it as neutral, even though obviously the Cheshire Cat is this, and I could easily pull out characters that I've worked on for films, but that really doesn't help you. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just sort of try to pull her out a little bit, and hopefully we can create a little bit of the interesting little eyes, that makes her really special. Give her kind of that curviness. I'm going to go into the eyes here. Going to give her a little bit of the delicate eyebrows, a little bit more space here. I'm kind of giving almost a V shape here in there with the that area that goes around the eyes. I'm a big believer in having some kind of a space around the eyes, because I think what that does is it helps frame the expression. And I am a firm believer that really what makes animation really communicate, whether it even be 2D or 3D, is what really happens in the eyes. I think that the audience really looks at the eyes as the windows to the soul, and I'm sure you've heard that term before, but I really can't stress that enough. I want to feel this shape over here. I want to have the muzzle in that perspective, so I'm going to sort of make sure that I get that sense up there, the little chin in perspective. I want to give her a little bit kind of a curly. Now in this case, I might give her a little bit more short and sort of a little bit more dressed up fur groupings that are going to be sort of cute, going in like this. Really sort of try to make this feel really kind of unique to who she is. And again, I'm trying to sort of visualize who she is as a character, as a sort of a very feminine sort of a cat character, opposed to a, sort of a street cat or an alley cat or something like that. I want to come in here and sort of pull that out. I'll still give her sort of a couple of really nice, whiskers. I'm going to pull this up here like that. I'm going to start to keep this a little bit clean, because I want that to be, you have to also choose what you want to do in terms of, you want to make sure that you don't have everything be fuzzy unless it is uniquely that character. You want to have contrasts. So you need to have, like, maybe you have a straight line here that comes down. Maybe over here it sort of fluffs up and even curls. And then you come down and then you go into a straight like that to give her sort of a blossomy feel. There might be a little bit of a color separation that you're going to put in here later that goes down the neck and then over down toward the chest area. I might show a little bit of that here, going down and showing the strong tapering down to the thinner, down to the paws. I may not even actually show the heels, but I might, the elbows that we talked about before. I might go directly down here and then just kind of come up here and really alter the line a little bit to give it a little bit more shape. You can see here, coming down. And then of course I want to make sure that I get these delicate little feet in here. So I might do a little bit of a change in this area here. I want to get again, we're using the heel, that same symbolism for the paws, which I'm going to go into in just a few seconds to sort of explain that a little bit more. And then I might pull this back up and make sure that I get the little bit of the other toes coming out to the other side. Now I'm going to, try to create this very sweeping sort of big. I want to make it even bigger. I'm going to go pull out here, sort of get a little bit of a curl maybe here or something like that blossoms up. Maybe I want this to sort of go away from me in perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of maybe I'm going to keep it so that it's sort of pushing away, and I'll keep that curvature to help do that. Again, now you can start to see that what we really have here is a cute little cat. And I think that shows you how, you can go from the different ideas, but you need to understand the character that you're drawing. Now, in tune with that, I want to talk a little bit about eyes, because eyes are critical. So I'm going to sort of use this as an opportunity because of the fact that, with the dogs, you had the masculine sort of character. With felines, you have a tendency to think more of the feminine characters. And even though there are some pretty tough street cats, and cats are basically, part of that line that come from tigers and lions and things like that.